across America. Live, this is Point of View. And now, your guest host for Point of View.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson today through Wednesday. And speaking of Wednesday, we've got a very special guest, Max Lucado from my hometown of San Antonio, Texas, in to talk about his new book on prayer called Before Amen. He'll be on in the 1 o'clock Central Hour, so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. You can learn more about me and my background, 20 years in talk radio, both Christian and traditional talk radio, at my website, AdamMcManus.net. That's Adam McManus, McManus.net. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Parents objecting to Islam being taught in public schools. Toys R Us pulling a Breaking Bad-themed doll line. Guns in senior portraits okayed by a school board. We'll tell you where that's happening. And the big three Sunday shows yesterday ignored Hillary, claiming businesses do not create jobs. Sounds like she's taken a page from Barack Obama himself. And we are going to get as well to a new media survey indicating what kind of media sources conservatives listen to, liberals listen to, and what Cheryl Atkinson has had to say. The former CBS reporter, 5 Emmys under her belt, who has written a new book, Stonewalled, My Fight for Truth Against the Forces of Obstruction, Intimidation, and Harassment in Obama's Washington. We welcome your calls throughout at 1-800-351-1212. That's 1-800-351-1212. Of course, the election is 10 days away. We're going to get into how most Democrats are running for their lives away from Barack Obama, not unlike Wile E. Coyote from the Roadrunner blowing him up with some more dynamite. But first, I want to get to Ebola. So much happening that is just a lot of moving parts involved. Michael Savage said that Ebola is Obama's Katrina, and I think that says it beautifully. What is so shocking, or perhaps not that shocking, is that Obama has put tremendous pressure behind the scenes, and the New York Times first reported this, on both New Jersey Governor Chris Christie and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to back down on their 21-day mandatory quarantines. At this point, only 5 airports will take incoming airplanes from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. Interestingly, the mandatory 21 days that Chris Christie, a Republican, and many say a possible presidential contender, had put in place in New Jersey, he backed down on it after meeting with the White House, intense pressure. The woman nurse from Doctors Without Borders, who had been put in a 21-day quarantine, despite the fact that she had not tested positive for Ebola. They had tested her twice. She had tested negative twice, but she was nonetheless, until this very morning, in a forced 21-day quarantine in a tent initially, and with some a granola bar and some water, and eventually they got her some magazines and let her have her cell phone, etc. But I think it is shocking that this president has once again put politics ahead of people, politics ahead of principle, in terms of, I don't know, paying homage to the land of his father, Africa. Perhaps he knows that in his back pocket, in the last 2 years of his presidency, this man, President Obama, wants to, through executive order after executive order, sign off on amnesty for millions of illegals, 9 to 32 million in our country now. And what you may not have heard about yet is that, according to Aaron Klein, a very aggressive investigative reporter from New York City, Barack Obama is set to approve 100,000 Haitians to immigrate to America. That's been green-lighted. And Haiti in the Caribbean is known for, right now, an outbreak of cholera and chikungunya, a virus. Plus, they have the highest incidence of HIV/AIDS infections for any country outside of Africa. 3 to 5% of the urban population, 5% of the urban population, 3% of the rural areas, people have HIV/AIDS. Cholera in Haiti spread through the ingestion of contaminated food or drinking water. We'll get to that. But first, Let me tell you, this lady, this nurse from Doctors Without Borders, as far as I'm concerned, is just a big whiner. And I want to hear what you think about this. She wrote a big piece, an op-ed piece, here where I'm sitting in the Dallas Morning News recently. Casey Hickox is her name. And she basically presented herself, as far as I'm concerned, as morally above the rules required to protect American public health. She had just come from having worked directly in Sierra Leone with those who have had Ebola. And let's put this into context. 10,000 people have been infected with Ebola so far. And of that 10,000, 4,922 have died, nearly a full 50%. And yet she says that it was inappropriate the way she was treated. She said that she was not treated humanely. And she said, I was hungry and thirsty and asked for something to eat and drink when she was initially put into quarantine after getting off the airplane. I was given a granola bar and some water. I wondered what I had done wrong. Now, there's a great blogger out there, Nicholas Sticks, who I think asks some very legitimate questions about this. He said her emotional, ignorant tone was not helpful. She doesn't write like someone who works with the pandemic, who's a healthcare worker, but she sounds like she's more like a difficult patient than a nurse. I mean, in other words, she's putting all of the people who come into contact with her, their health in jeopardy potentially if she does indeed have Ebola. Why can she not wait the 21 days to make sure that she is Ebola free? She said that it is something that has led her now to initiate a lawsuit. That's the latest in all of this. She has hired a very high-priced civil rights attorney, and that civil rights attorney is saying, you all are going to have heads roll. Norman Siegel is his name, challenging the quarantine order. And now Christie and Cuomo are both committed to saying, well, now instead of the quarantine being in a medically supervised situation, you can do it at home, and, you know, all bets are off because of the political pressure that Barack Obama has placed on them. Now, Barack Obama was absolutely belittled by NBC's Saturday Night Live this past Saturday night, and so was his Ebola czar. And we're going to feature that audio when we come back. Pretty amazing in light of how MSNBC is the left-wing destination for all things pro-Obama. And yet they said, look, Ron Klain, this Ebola czar, conceded that he hasn't even a bit of medical expertise under his belt, but he is a political animal through and through. We'll talk more about the Ebola virus and how 36 countries have imposed restrictions saying if you're from one of these three countries, Sierra Leone, Guinea, or Liberia, you cannot come to our country. 36 countries have implemented such reasonable, logical restrictions. Obama remains inexplicably reluctant to do so. So now we've got Doctors Without Borders, we've got Ebola Without Borders, and there are many coming across our porous southern border, not too far from where I'm sitting right now, who might indeed be coming from those three countries. A lot to think about. Give me a call with your thoughts. 1-800-351-1212. We'll have that Saturday Night Live audio just next.
The Point of View Commentary with Kirby Anderson.
You know, whenever the proponents of same-sex marriage have talked about its legalization, they usually have said that ministers would still have the freedom to decline to do a marriage ceremony for a gay and lesbian couple. After all, pastors sometimes refuse to officiate at a wedding for theological reasons. It would stand to reason that they would also decline to participate in a same-sex marriage for theological reasons. Earlier this month, a case arose in Idaho where city officials told two ordained ministers they have to officiate same-sex weddings or face fines and jail time. Donald and Evelyn Knapp are both ordained ministers who run the Hitching Post Wedding Chapel. Officials from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, told the couple that they were under the city's non-discrimination statute and must officiate a same-sex wedding. The Knapps face a 180-day jail term and a $1,000 fine for each day they decline to celebrate the same-sex wedding. Ryan Anderson, in a recent article, does the math. He says if the Knapps even wait a week before they officiate at the wedding, they could face 3.5 years in jail and $7,000 in fines. You know, back when same-sex marriage was being debated, we were told that this would never happen. Raising concerns about ministers being forced to officiate at same-sex marriages was seen as fear-mongering. This is the first case, but many more will certainly follow. A city ordinance that creates special privileges based on sexual orientation will create special mischief from gay activists who believe that the government should coerce everyone to accept and even celebrate gay marriage. Government should protect the freedom of religion and the freedom of association, but lately government has been using its power to tell photographers, bakers, florists, innkeepers, and now ministers that they need to participate in same-sex weddings or celebrations despite their religious objections. The latest controversy illustrates why we should pay attention even to local elections and proceedings. Who you elect to city council can affect your religious freedom. I'm Kirby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
You're listening to Point of View, your listener-supported source for truth.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson on Point of View. You can email me throughout the broadcast, and we'll incorporate those comments or questions into our discussion. TalkRadioAdam@gmail.com. That's TalkRadioAdam@gmail.com. I am not a fan of Chris Christie. He's too moderate. I'm a big fan and proponent of Senator Ted Cruz. He's my guy, and I hope he goes all the way to the White House. We need someone like a Ted Cruz, or even, for that matter, a Ben Carson, who I just heard in San Antonio at a crisis pregnancy center fundraiser. But I'll tell you, Chris Christie has just shot himself in the foot by backing down on the quarantine, on the mandated 21 days in a facility that medical personnel would supervise. This is going to come back to bite Chris Christie in a major way. Let's go to Pauline up next on the line from Maine. You're on with Adam McManus on Point of View.
Yes, I agree with you completely. I just listened to Chris Christie on Fox News Sunday yesterday, and when Chris Wallace gave him the question about his quarantine, the 21 days, I quote him, he said, anyone who's an Ebola worker should understand that an extra quarantine is very reasonable, and he says, I'm not changing my mind or my stance. And then now to hear that he has backed down under Obama's pressure. I mean, yesterday I was thinking, okay, I think I'm going to be thinking about him for a presidential candidate. No way now.
I mean, he's got no backbone, and yet Chris Christie's known, supposedly, for being a tough guy and telling it like it is and letting the chips fall where they may. Well, apparently he's been spending too much time drinking the water up there in New Jersey. You know, the amazing thing, Pauline, Chicago and the entire state of Illinois refuses to abide by Obama's desire to relax the standards for a 21-day quarantine. This is the same city, Chicago, Illinois, where the Chicago O'Hare International Airport is located, that is run by Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of the city, who is his former chief of staff. You can't get any closer to Barack Obama than that. If Rahm Emanuel has the guts to tell a fellow Democrat, go jump in a lake, we're not going to put the people of Illinois at risk because of your little political points that you want to make with whomever. Right. You lame ducker, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, the other thing is, my question is, I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall to see what did Obama bring about to change Christie's mind? That's what I would love to know. I hope somebody asks that question and gets an answer. And I thank you.
Thank you for your call. Let's listen now to Cut 4, Saturday Night Live, mocking the president, whom they love. Finally, the gloves are coming off as he's got 2 years left, and also belittling Ron Klain, the Ebola czar.
Next on C-SPAN, earlier today, President Obama introduced Ebola czar Ron Klain, who took questions on the latest developments in the Ebola crisis.
Well, thank you all for coming. As you know, just 2 days ago, another American, this time a doctor in New York, was diagnosed with Ebola. Now, some people want to criticize the way our administration has handled this crisis. And it's true, we made a few mistakes early on. But I assure you, it was nowhere near as bad as how we handled the ISIS situation. I mean, our various Secret Service mishaps, or the scandals of the IRS and the NSA. And I don't know if you guys remember, but the Obamacare website had some pretty serious problems too.
Oh, we remember.
In fact, if you look at all the stuff that's happened my second term, this whole Ebola thing is probably one of my greatest accomplishments. Now, I'd like to introduce the man who will be managing this crisis moving forward. New Ebola czar, Mr. Ron Klain.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Thank you, members of the press. I'm really more of a behind-the-scenes guy, but I am excited to take your questions. Yes?
Mr. Klain, you have no actual medical training or background in dealing with infectious disease, is that correct?
Yes, that is true. I am not a doctor, but to be fair, I did serve as Chief of Staff to Vice President Joe Biden, so I do have some experience with a little something called foot and mouth disease.
It seems like that's a joke disease. Just to confirm, no experience with actual medical diseases?
No.
Mr. Klain, some have speculated you were brought in mainly to handle this from a political perspective. Even the midterm elections are in 2 weeks. Any comment on that?
Yeah, right now I am not worried about winning elections. However, there are a few safety tips that people should know heading towards Election Day. For example, the Ebola virus actually flourishes in warmer climates, So if you live in a southern state such as Louisiana, Arkansas, or Kentucky, you actually may want to avoid any large public spaces like, say, a polling booth. One exception, however, is that we believe Latinos in red states may actually have an immunity to Ebola, so they're good to go.
Oh, I love it. You know how seriously Mexico takes Ebola? Listen to this. Carnival Cruise was going to dock at one of their ports. They heard that there was a possible Ebola case on board. They turned the Carnival cruise ship away, saying no to a lot of that money that was about to come off that cruise ship because they did not want to have any possible infection of a Mexican. Why do we not have a president who has the same commitment to the American people? That's what I'd like to know. The Carnival Cruise Line had to return home to dock in Galveston. A healthcare worker was thought to be infected and was restricted to her cabin before she tested negative for Ebola. You know what percentage of Americans say yes, that we should quarantine anyone from or who has visited these stricken regions? 82%. So, Pauline, you and others are in good company if you think there should be a mandatory 21-day quarantine when people come back from having either ministered there or worked there or perhaps they lived there. But you know what? I agree with these 36 countries that said we are not accepting any planes from these countries directly or indirectly. Not going to happen. Why can't we see our president take a similar stand? Again, 10,000 infected, almost 5,000 have already died. And we've got this nurse who is putting America's health at risk, saying, well, she just was not treated compassionately or humanely. I mean, if there's anyone that should understand the risk, it's someone who is helping over there to help those who have the Ebola virus? Why would she want to put anyone, especially her own friends and family, at risk, much less absolute strangers? And then we've got Obama saying we're about to have 100,000 Haitians, maybe a lot more, immigrating to America. It just seems like it's the Saul Alinsky rules for radicals all over again. It's absolute chaos to continue to distract you from the last scandal, the IRS scandal, the VA scandal, fill-in-the-blank scandal. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is not doing enough, and Barack Obama is the man who's the captain of the ship. Well, at this point, the Pentagon is building units to transport Ebola patients, and there is a business called Phoenix Air that costs $200,000 per flight for one person to come back and to ensure that there is proper medical standards to ensure that no one is infected while someone's being transported. The toughest part of any Ebola transport mission, the decontamination after the flight. Phoenix Air uses a complex process of fogging, spraying toxic disinfectant inside the module before removing and incinerating it. It's a tent-like structure put up in the plane, held up by a metal framework within the jet. Single patient attended to by a doctor and 2 nurses in flight. Similar procedures will be used for the military's larger isolation units, which are now under development. What do you think? What do you think about Governor Chris Christie in particular backing down? I think he's just lost. He's kissed goodbye any possible hopes of being the next resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Give me a call with your thoughts. I'm Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson at 1-800-351-1212. That's 1-800-351-1212. Rush Limbaugh says, yeah, this president is devoted to redistribution of wealth. Now he's committed to redistributing ill health on top of it. Not just with Ebola, but also now with cholera and the other virus that's coming in from Haiti and possibly even AIDS. 100,000 Haitians about to make their way to America. Coming up next, we'll talk about the elections and how bad does it look for the Democrats. I'm Adam McManus.
It is amazing what you can learn listening to our leaders today. I mean, who would have known that the Islamic State wasn't Islamic? Seriously, where will you hear the truth with a capital T about Islam? Where will you find a reasoned and faithful response to attacks on the Bible and God's design for human flourishing? Here's one answer. Kirby and the team at Point of View. The difference is that we don't have access to taxpayer dollars and we're not funded by major corporate partners. What we do have is partners like you. Now let me challenge you. Become a Century partner. That's $100 a month or perhaps $1 a day. $30 a month. We have gifts to thank you depending on the level of your partnership. Learn more online using the partner button at pointofview.net or write Point of View, Box 30, Dallas, Texas 75221, or call us. Say you want to be a partner. 800-227-1444. Will you be the next Century partner? $100 monthly. Pray about it. Or $1 a day. We really need your help. Point of View will continue after this.
You are listening to Point of View. The opinions expressed on Point of View do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff of this station.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson today through Wednesday. Max Lucado, my guest, at 1 o'clock multiple times over the years. It'll be another treasure, a time, a memory, really. He is just so well-spoken, so thoughtful, and I've got the book at my in-laws' house in Waxahachie, and we'll be digging into it tomorrow night. Coming up in the next hour, we'll talk about parents objecting to Islam being taught in public schools, Toys R Us pulling the Breaking Bad-themed doll line, guns in senior portraits okayed by a school board, I'll tell you where, and the big three Sunday shows yesterday ignored Hillary's claim that businesses don't create jobs. If businesses don't create jobs, then who does? This is the woman that the Democrats are going to put all their eggs in that basket for 2016? That shows you how embarrassingly pathetic the Democratic Party is today, if you ask me. Hey, you can learn more about me at my website, AdamMcManus.net. That's McManus, AdamMcManus.net. And throughout the broadcast, feel free to shoot me an email. I've got my email pulled up here at talkradioadam@gmail.com, talkradioadam@gmail.com. This half hour, we'll get into some of the election news. 10 days away from today is the big voting day. Lots of you have already been early voting. And if you're a Christian, you're only supposed to vote once, by the way. Just a little biblical test. If you vote twice, you might want to think through that whole idea of bearing false witness. It's God's top 10, you know? It's pretty important. All right, let's go to the phones. And up next, we've got Carolyn joining us from Columbia, California at KYCC with some thoughts on what's going on in this country at the top at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. What's your thought, Carolyn?
Well, my thought is that I agree with you wholeheartedly, all that you've said. But what bothers me is what can we do? I'm not for Democrats. I'm not for Republicans. I'm for Jesus Christ. But, you know, we all go out there and we vote. And we said no on same-sex marriage. We said no on abortion. Then Supreme Court steps in, excuse me, and turns it all around.
Well, and that underscores the importance of selecting the right man at the top. Unfortunately, millions of Christians have traditionally stayed home on Election Day or during early voting. And because we are not casting our ballots, enough of us, we are getting people like a Barack Obama, like a Bill Clinton in office, like a Jimmy Carter, and they put in very leftist judges like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And even when we get a Republican like George H.W. Bush, we get someone like David Souter, who turns out to be a turncoat. Thankfully, we've got Clarence Thomas and, some other good ones on the court. But sadly, the Democrats will have litmus tests. Now, you have to be in favor of killing the babies, and they know that. Why can't the Republicans, when we get the power at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, why don't we ask the tough questions of these judicial candidates saying, look, you better be for the babies or I'm going to go on to the next guy?
Yep, that's right.
Thanks so much, Carolyn. Let's move on now to Gary from Forest City, North Carolina, with the thought about Ebola. You're on with Adam McManus on Point of View.
Yes, sir. Let me say something about the lady you just talked to. Thank God we still got a few Americans around. She actually talked like a real American.
You know what? The Point of View listenership, you guys are gold. You are the backbone of this country. You are the Christian heritage. You are the remnant. And if it weren't for Point of View listeners and many like you, this country would be far worse off than it is. So thank you for your determination to stay on top of the news, vote the Bible, and to be people of conscience, unlike the Democrats.
The one thing that interests me, I'm kind of amazed at the surprise and the shock by people about the way the Ebola thing is being handled. The point is, this country is being run by the most irresponsible and immature people in the history of this country. They honestly don't know what to do because of their lack of experience. They're well-educated, technologically advanced people who are just plain silly. They don't know nothing. And it's sad because it's ruining this country.
Well, what amazes me is that Barack Obama was reelected. I mean, when I drive around San Antonio, where I'm from, and I see someone dumb enough to have a bumper sticker that says Obama 08, I'm thinking, wait a minute, you made one bad decision. Why? I would take that bumper sticker off. You're advertising your stupidity. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, sir. You have a great.
All right, you too. All right, let's get right into the Democrats not just running away from the president, like one pundit said, Wile E. Coyote running from a lit stick of dynamite. It's not just that they're running away from Barack Obama, they are running against Barack Obama. Here's the first clip I want to share with you from Kentucky, where Mrs. Grimes is very clear that she does not agree with Obama on a number of things. Cut 7.
Mitch McConnell wants you to think I'm Barack Obama. Mitch was the same guy who thought Duke basketball players were UK, or who's attacking me on coal after doing next to nothing while we've lost thousands of coal jobs. He even said it's not his job to bring jobs to Kentucky.
I'm not Barack Obama. I disagree with him on guns, coal, and the EPA. And Mitch, that's not how you hold a gun. I'm Allison Lundergan Grimes, and I approve this message.
I mean, she is running against Barack Obama on those 3 specific items. And by the way, many insiders in Kentucky say she doesn't necessarily believe that, but to win office in West Virginia, those have to be the positions, whether she believes it or not. All right, Mark Pryor in Arkansas, another Democrat running against Barack Obama. Listen to what he says about Obama's gun control legislation. Cut 8.
The mayor of New York City is running ads against me because I oppose President Obama's gun control legislation. Nothing in the Obama plan would have prevented tragedies like Newtown, Aurora, Tucson, or even Jonesboro. I'm committed to finding real solutions to gun violence while protecting our Second Amendment rights. I'm Mark Pryor, and I approve this message because no one from New York or Washington tells me what to do.
Especially Barack Obama. All right, here's cut 9. Mary Landrieu in Louisiana taking great issue with her own president, a fellow Democrat, on the oil and gas issue. Cut 9.
I'm Mary Landrieu, and I approve this message.
For years, she's forced Washington to respect Louisiana.
The administration's policies are simply wrong when it comes to oil and gas production in this nation.
Like stopping offshore drilling.
Nothing about this moratorium makes sense. Nothing.
So she forced it to end.
just Louisiana. It's 300,000 people that go to work every day in this industry. You can't just beat up on them.
When we were cheated out of oil royalties.
And they have to sit here and listen to the federal government say, we can't share a penny with you. I will not rest until this injustice is fixed.
And she won. Now is the new chairman of the Energy Committee.
Do you think there are a bunch of fairy godmothers out there that just wave a magic wand?
She holds the most powerful position in the Senate for Louisiana.
We produce the oil and gas. That's the message hold to the president. My eyes are on the people I represent and the taxpayers and this country.
I mean, it is so moving, isn't it? Especially with that guy with the great voice. She stands for us. She's against Washington. She opposes Obama at every turn. And yet you know that Mary Landrieu has voted with Barack Obama on 95% of the Democratic Party platform. All right, here's Mark Udall, Colorado, talking about how he objects to Obama's NSA spying, which actually started with President George W. Bush. Cut 10.
Mass collection of our phone and internet records started under a Republican president, continued under a Democratic one. I won't tolerate it.
One of the last real mavericks of the Senate.
Colorado's U.S. Senator Mark Udall calling for the resignation of the CIA director.
This is an invasion of privacy.
Taking on Presidents Bush and Obama, the Denver Post praises Mark Udall's crusade against our own government's spying on Americans.
I'm Mark Udall. As Coloradans, our rights include the freedom to be left alone. And that's why I approve this message.
Gary Peters in Michigan, another Democrat running against Obama. Cut 11.
5 generations in Michigan. Gary Peters, the son of a teacher and nurse's aide, he married Colleen and raised 3 kids. An independent leader, breaking with his own party, stopping Congress from giving itself a pay raise, and running his office so efficiently he has returned $500,000 back to the Treasury.
I'm Gary Peters, and I approve this message because government needs to do more with less. Stop tax giveaways to billionaires and provide real help for the families and small businesses that need to come first if we're going to make our economy work for everyone.
Do you know what Chris Matthews says, the liberal talk show host on Hardball on MSNBC? He said, it's like Obama's got Ebola. They're all running away from him. They don't want to touch him. They don't want to get near him for fear that they will go down in political flames and have to get a real job and stop milking the taxpayers out of money, and continuing to vote for Democrat principles, even though they claim to be against Democratic principles. They're lying through their teeth, these Democrats running against Obama. Don't you believe it? I'm Adam McManus.
Now, back to Point of View, your listener-supported source for truth.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson today through Wednesday, and I welcome your emails at talkradioadam@gmail.com. Would love to incorporate those into the broadcast. Talkradioadam@gmail.com, and our toll-free number is always 1-800-351-1212. That's 1-800-351-1212. It's almost as if Barack Obama thinks he's Jesus Christ, and he is livid with the Peters of his political world who have denied him 3 times before the rooster crowed in the morning. And most presidents get it. They get that the midterm election is a political pendulum swing away from their party, and they don't pretend publicly, they don't say publicly what he has said publicly, that he and his policies are actually on the ballot. Even his own DNC chief has sidestepped that one. Listen to Cut 2 and how Barack Obama has positioned this November 4th midterm election.
Well, look, here's the bottom line. We've got a tough map. A lot of the states that are contested this time are states that I didn't win. And so some of the candidates there, it is difficult for them to have me in the state because the Republicans will use that to try to fan Republican turnout. The bottom line is, though, these are all folks who vote with me. They have supported my agenda in Congress. They are on the right side of minimum wage. They are on the right side of fair pay. They are on the right side of rebuilding our infrastructure. They're on the right side of early childhood education. So, this isn't about my feelings being hurt. These are folks who are strong allies and supporters of me. And, I tell them, I said, you know what, you do what you need to win. I will be responsible for making sure that our voters turn.
How Machiavellian is that? You do what you need to do to win, but I know you're with me, even though you're running against me. Now, this is something you would say at a cocktail party with 3 of your top donors who've given the DNC a $100,000 check apiece. This is not something you say on radio to Reverend Al Sharpton, who will then put it on his MSNBC show, and of course the world has heard. I mean, he is giving the Republicans, and I love it. I'm glad he did it. But it's really stupid politically. He's supposed to be this political animal that's almost as politically astute as Bill Clinton. But hey, that's not very smart to say that kind of thing. I'm on the ballot. My policies are on the ballot. They agree with me 100% on these issues, 98%. And so they can say they're not with me, but they're really with me. And they're going on record and millions of dollars of television ads you just heard me play saying we don't agree with Barack Obama on X, Y, and Z issues. Mary Catherine Ham, you probably recognize that name. She is a regular guest on the O'Reilly Factor and Fox News Channel. She wrote a fascinating piece about the backdrop to that conversation that Barack Obama had with Reverend Al Sharpton on his radio show. That same day, he was in Maryland, had a very lackluster reception. In fact, it was a predominantly black audience, and they started to walk out before he was finished. Talk about a sword or a dagger to the heart. You know what this is all about? This is all about his pride. Pride. Proverbs 16:18 says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit goes before a fall. This man, Barack Obama, cannot stand the fact that there are Democratic candidates, most of them up for re-election in either swing states or red states, who are not just running away from him, but literally running against him. It hurts his pride, and he has to go on record saying, but they agree with me. And he's really pointing to the truth. They agree with me on everything. Oh, my. Politics. What an interesting Polaroid snapshot of our culture. And you know what galls me the most is how the Democratic National Committee is running ads, newspaper ads, in black newspapers that are designed to manipulate and to twist and to turn. There is one, for example, let me read it to you here. There was a flyer that was put out by the Democratic Party of Georgia that shows two young black children holding signs that say, "Don't shoot," a reference to Michael Brown's demise at the hands of Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson, the white police officer. So in Georgia, they've got this flyer that shows two young black children holding signs that say, "Don't shoot," and the flyer reads, "If you want to prevent another Ferguson in their future, vote." I remember when I was in San Antonio at a predominantly black church, and it was a candidate forum. Candidates on both sides of the political aisle spoke, and then people who were advocates for liberal cause or the conservative cause, a Democrat, Republican, spokespeople got up there. I happened to be a conservative who got up there after one, I think it was the Democratic chair of Bexar County in San Antonio, Texas, and he actually said, if you don't vote Democrat, saying this to a predominantly black audience, they're going to take away your right to vote altogether. It's that kind of scare tactic that is going on today in Kentucky. Democrat Senate candidate Allison Grimes, you heard her ad where she takes great issue with Barack Obama on three issues, on Second Amendment, coal, and something else. Allison Grimes running an ad on black radio that claims she is a champion for civil rights. The ad goes on to say that Republican Senator Mitch McConnell and the Republicans are, quote, this is a direct quote from her ad on black radio, are trying to take away your right to vote, unquote. That is the direct quote from the ad. And in North Carolina, Kay Hagan, junior senator running for re-election. Black residents in North Carolina have received flyers that show a lynching scene with a rope with the words, Kay Hagan doesn't win, Obama's impeachment will begin. Vote in 2014. How's that for manipulation? And yet, do you realize that 82% of black Americans still support Barack Obama right now, October 27th, 2014? That is literally double his national approval rating of 41%. 82% of black Americans approve him. Listen, this identity politics stinks to high heaven. You should not support someone because of their gender, because of their skin color. You should support them because they are right. And as I tell my 5-year-old boy Honor and my 3-year-old daughter Mercy regularly, Barack Obama is in favor of killing the babies. They understand, even at that age, that when a child is developing in the womb, like we have another sibling on the way, we're expecting another boy, they understand there's a baby in there. They've seen pictures. They've seen the videos of the sonogram. They've been to our sonogram appointments. And they understand that Barack Obama and 99% of Democrats, and sadly too many Republicans, think it's okay to kill babies. How can a traditional black American, a church-going black American, support a man who is even in favor of late-term abortion, which, of course, he did champion while he was a senator in the Illinois Senate? I'm Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson. We welcome your calls at 1-800-351-1212.
You know, America's fast becoming a nation of perpetual children. One aspect of childhood is a relative lack of responsibility. Mom and dad are there to care for you, put food on the table, pay for clothes, your medical needs. Increasingly, people rely on government for these things, and throughout history, you'll find many regimes more than willing to play the role of daddy. But the cost is a loss of freedom. Daddy pays the bills, daddy makes the rules. Now, here's where you might stop nodding your head and get mad at me. You're listening to Point of View, which probably means it's helped you. Have you taken responsibility and supported what we do, or are you leaving that to someone else? Large or small, make an investment in Point of View. Be one of the adults who stands with us. $20, $200, maybe $2,000. Pray about it and give. Call 1-800-227-1444. Click the donate button at pointofview.net or mail a gift to Point of View, Box 30, Dallas, Texas 75221. Point of View will continue after this.
I just thank God for y'all. I listen to you every day, truly. I wanted to thank y'all for everything you do each day to inform Christian families and our community about the things we can do, and just the way you're so informative. I listen to you daily and love you guys and appreciate you so much.
God bless you, Kirby, for keeping this show so on track and for the decades of wonderful help to this nation that Point of View has been. We're all big fans of your work, and we pray that God will just prosper it.
As a Christian, over the years that I've followed this program, I am constantly challenged to be on guard and to evaluate what's going on. And if for no other reason, to protect the caliber and the truth of your programming, I need to participate and to back your program financially to ensure that the truth stays out there for people to hear, to view, and to be a part of.
This is Point of View Radio.
Hi, this is Kirby Anderson. You know, each day we take on the tough issues and provide a biblical perspective to them. The topics we cover are wide-ranging: apologetics, theology, prophecy, creation and evolution, intelligent design, marriage, family, child-rearing, the millennial generation, trends in society, politics, economics, business, religious liberty, the Constitution, public policy, foreign policy, military policy, tensions in the Middle East, abortion, homosexuality, pornography, sexual ethics, media, technology, history, and America's godly heritage. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. So don't go anywhere, because Point of View continues right now.
Across America, live. This is Point of View. And now, your guest host for Point of View.
Adam McManus here with you through Wednesday on Point of View. I've been in talk radio for 20 years. I have worked in radio for all my adult life. Started out in North Carolina, where I attended Duke University, came to San Antonio, Texas, where I was on Salem Communications broadcast for 13 years, and now I guest host around the country, Chicago and Houston, Dallas, and filled in for G. Gordon Liddy once. That was a trip. You can certainly learn more about me at my website, AdamMcManus.net. That's McManus.net. And you can shoot me an email throughout the broadcast or even afterwards at talkradioadam@gmail.com. Don't forget, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, actually Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central, we'll talk to Max Lucado, pastor of Oak Hills Church in San Antonio, the best-selling Christian author of our time, and he has a new book out on prayer called Before Amen, so you'll not want to miss that. Coming up this hour, we'll talk about how parents object to Islam being taught in the schools. Toys R Us pulls a Breaking Bad-themed doll line. Guns and senior portraits are okayed by a school board. And the Big Three Sunday shows ignored Hillary, claiming businesses don't create jobs. We've got a lot more audio clips as well. But I want to take some calls from those of you reacting to our previous segment before the top of the hour about how manipulative the Democrats have been and continue to be with black voters. Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, who has written a book called Scam, the expose of Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the like, wrote a very good piece from which I was quoting in terms of some of those examples of what's happening right now in this election cycle, 10 days before the election. He said, blacks voted for Obama twice because of his race. Obama promised to improve their economic conditions, but every economic indicator shows blacks are worse off under him. Black wealth has fallen further under Obama than under any president since the Great Depression. Black poverty has increased. Black unemployment is almost 12%. And unemployment for blacks ages 16 to 19 is a staggering 37%. Things are so bad in Detroit that the city had to shut off water for thousands of residents. Democrats had mismanaged the city so badly they needed the worthless United Nations to come to their aid. And now, due to the high rate of abortions, breakdown of the family, black-on-black murder, the black voting population is declining. Therefore, Democrats are working feverishly to grant amnesty to illegal aliens. Let's take some calls. Up next is Dwayne from St. Simons, Georgia. You're on Point of View with Adam McManus. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I just want to say what you say about blacks and how they vote for this president due to his race is so true, because a lot of that is going on in our church. We have blacks that continue to support Obama, and I think it's due to his skin color. And when you say anything about negative about Obama, they dismiss it as simply being nothing but lies or untrue. I was at a church meeting not too long ago, and our pastor got up and said that we should send someone up there in Washington to be in the Senate, someone who would talk to Obama to get him to change his ways. But if he hasn't changed in all these...
Exactly. Too little, too late.
I think he's going to change now.
He's not going to change his stripes now. Thank you for your call. Let's move on to Carrie from 29 Palms, California, listening to KNLB. You're on Point of View with Adam McManus.
Yeah, this is Gary. And
I apologize.
I want to thank you. That's all right. I'm so glad you guys are so back. I'm so excited about hearing you guys back, first thing. But isn't this the same president that spent 800 some hours on the golf course, on 100 hours on the intelligence briefings? No wonder we're in the situation that we're in.
That's what you call misplaced priorities. And, you know, to his credit, President George W. Bush, after 9/11 occurred, pretty much to my recollection, made a commitment that he would not golf again. Because how could he when he was putting our sons and daughters in harm's way overseas to protect us from another 9/11 attack? And that's the kind of honor that certainly President Ronald Reagan had for the office. He wouldn't even take off his jacket in the Oval Office.
Yes, I'm a former military man from 72 to 87. And I just think that this has been such a facade, and I've never seen a president on so many reality shows and so many trips to California and so many trips on television. It's amazing to me.
It is amazing. I want to get to this Media Research Center study about how the television news is literally ignoring this election cycle. Why? Because the Democrats are in a world of hurt. They need 6 net seats, Republicans do, to win the Senate. Now, what they did at the Media Research Center was very interesting. They compared the newscasts on the big 3, ABC, CBS, and NBC evening newscasts, between September 1st and October 20th. In the first midterm election, I should say the second midterm election of George W. Bush in 2006, and now this midterm election for Barack Obama, 2014. Equivalent election. Same exact time frame, September 1st through October 20th, and this is what they found. They found that in 2006, when the Democrats were looking real good and the Republicans were looking real bad, CBS Evening News, NBC Nightly News, and ABC's World News aired a combined 159 campaign stories. During the same time period, this year, 2014, compared to the 159 campaign stories of 2006, when the Republicans were in a world of hurt. Now that the Democrats are in a world of hurt, guess how many stories those same 3 networks have done between September 1st and October 20th, 2014? 25! A lousy 25! 16 full reports, 9 mentions. This is a 6-to-1 disparity between how the press covered the election in 2006 in that midterm and how they're covering it now in 2014. Since September 1st, ABC's World News Tonight has yet to mention a single time this year's campaign. Not once have they mentioned. If you are a regular viewer of ABC News, World News Tonight, and that's your sole source of information, you would not even know that there was a midterm election going on at all. Charlie Gibson, 2006, had weekly Thursday night features of critical races. CBS and NBC have scarcely been more comprehensive. In 2006, CBS aired a total of 58 evening news stories that discussed the campaign, while NBC Nightly News aired 65 stories. This year, those numbers have fallen to 14 and 11 through October 20th, a decline of 76 and 83% respectively. They are in the tank for the Democrats. They are in the tank for their liberal agenda, pro-abortion, pro-homosexual agenda, pro-higher taxes, the nanny state, everything. The list goes down. Give me a call with your thoughts, your reaction at 1-800-351-1212. That's 1-800-351-1212. I'm Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson here on Point of View. We've got some talk lines open.
The Point of View Commentary with Kirby Anderson.
You know, whenever the proponents of same-sex marriage have talked about its legalization, they usually have said that ministers would still have the freedom to decline to do a marriage ceremony for a gay and lesbian couple. After all, pastors sometimes refuse to officiate at a wedding for theological reasons. It would stand to reason that they would also decline to participate in a same-sex marriage for theological reasons. Earlier this month, a case arose in Idaho where city officials told 2 ordained ministers they have to officiate same-sex weddings or face fines and jail time. Donald and Evelyn Knapp are both ordained ministers who run the Hitching Post Wedding Chapel. Officials from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho told the couple that they were under the city's non-discrimination statute and must officiate a same-sex wedding. The Knapps face a 180-day jail term and a $1,000 fine for each day they decline to celebrate the same-sex wedding. Ryan Anderson, in a recent article, does the math. He says if the Knapps even wait a week before they officiate at the wedding, they could face 3.5 years in jail and $7,000 in fines. You know, back when same-sex marriage was being debated, we were told that this would never happen. Raising concerns about ministers being forced to officiate at same-sex marriages was seen as fear-mongering. This is the first case, but many more will certainly follow. A city ordinance that creates special privileges based on sexual orientation will create special mischief from gay activists who believe that the government should coerce everyone to accept and even celebrate gay marriage. Government should protect the freedom of religion and the freedom of association, but lately government has been using its power to tell photographers, bakers, florists, innkeepers, and now ministers that they need to participate in same-sex weddings or celebrations despite their religious objections. The latest controversy illustrates why we should pay attention even to local elections and proceedings. Who you elect to city council can affect your religious freedom. I'm Kirby Anderson, and that's my point of view.
You're listening to Point of View, your listener-supported source for truth.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson on Point of View. I welcome you to call us up at 1-800-351-1212, 1-800-351-1212, and you can also email me at talkradioadam@gmail.com. This fall, estimates from the New York Times and Washington Post as of October 21st place the odds of a Republican takeover of the Senate. They need 6 net seats. Places the odds of a Republican takeover of the Senate at between 66% and 93%. But I think those odds would go up even more if the media would actually report and do their job. And that's why I want to talk for a minute about Cheryl Atkinson before we take a couple of these calls. She is the former CBS reporter who has 5 Emmys under her belt, wrote a new book called Stonewalled, My Fight for Truth Against the Forces of Obstruction, Intimidation, and Harassment in Obama's Washington. Now, she decided to step down. She couldn't take it anymore. Her bosses would not let her do her job. She was doing and asking tough questions about Benghazi, the cover-up there, Fast and Furious, and one White House flack, Eric Schultz, when she pressed him for answers about the Fast and Furious scandal in which American agents directed guns into the arms of Mexican drug lords, used a very bad word and then said, Cheryl, the Washington Post is reasonable, the LA Times is reasonable, the New York Times is reasonable. You're the only one who's not reasonable. In other words, you're not playing the game. And when she asked for details about reinforcement sent to the Benghazi compound during the September 11th, 2012 terrorist attack White House National Security spokesman Tommy Vietor replied, "I give up, Cheryl. I'll work with more reasonable folks that follow up, I guess." So that's apparently the buzz phrase. You have to be reasonable, meaning they have to be liberal, you have to be pro-Democrat, pro-Obama, because if you're not, you can't be a good member of the media. What's the point of the media? I grew up in a media family. My dad is a newspaper columnist, has been for most of my life. I edited his column growing up. He's an author. He's a speaker. He heads up a marriage ministry. And having grown up in that household, I remember hearing phone interviews that he conducted where he asked some tough questions of a lot of people. Cheryl Atkinson, was described by her own executive producers, Jim Murphy and Rick Kaplan at CBS Evening News, as a pit bull. She said she calls herself, interestingly, politically agnostic. She does not call herself a conservative. She follows the truth. She follows the story. She wants to follow the money wherever it leads, the story wherever it leads, the truth wherever it leads. And in nearly 20 years at CBS News, Cheryl Atkinson certainly did many stories attacking Republicans, corporate America. But reporters on the ground, she said, are not necessarily ideological. It's the major network news decisions, the major network news executives who read the same papers and think the same thoughts. And remember Solyndra? She reported on the many green energy firms such as Solyndra that went belly up after burning through hundreds of millions of dollars in Washington handouts. She ran into increasing difficulty getting her stories on the air. Maybe we should be airing some of them on the evening news, she asked. Replied the program's chief, Pat Shevlin, "What's the matter? Don't you support green energy?" And Cheryl Atkinson said, "That's like saying you're anti-medicine if you point out pharmaceutical company fraud." All right, let's take some calls. Up next, Josephine from New Mexico. You're on Point of View with Adam McManus.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Hear ye, brothers and sisters. We've got to come out of our carnality, surrender completely to Christ. Let's put on Christ. Let's put on the whole armor of God. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty to the pulling down of strongholds.
Do you think that Christians are basically compromising the way they vote because of the way they live?
Let's fight this in the spirit.
All right. I don't think you answer my question, but let's go on to Tony up next. Tony, you're on The Point of View with Adam McManus.
Well, I appreciate you taking my call.
Joining us from Augusta, Georgia.
Exactly. Having to speak about Cheryl Atkinson, I've watched her over the years too, and she's been doing an exceptional job as a reporter. I mean, truly reporting the job, because just as you mentioned earlier, if the ones on ABC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN genuinely done their job, we would not be talking about Barack Obama right now.
Oh, I agree. And remember, she was reporting on Benghazi in mid-October 2012.
Exactly.
With the presidential election coming up, Atkinson said CBS suddenly lost interest in airing her reporting on the Benghazi attack. She said, "The light switch turns off. Most of my Benghazi stories from that point on would be reported not on television, but on the web." And that's when she decided to throw in the towel. What's so interesting about this is that the CBS News president, David Rhodes, has a brother. His name is Ben. Guess what Ben's job is? He's the top national security advisor to President Obama. So, exactly. I mean, you tell me if his brother's not going to help his boss cover his backside.
Oh, yeah. But here's the point, though. It's like, you know, and of course, you know, he don't get along with Fox News, Fox at all, you know, because Sean Hannity and the gang, I mean, they really hold this administration to take them to task with a lot of what they're doing and not doing, and what they're allowing and what they're not allowing. I mean, from Benghazi on, from like you had mentioned earlier, even Fast and Furious, all the way up to IRS scandal. I mean, you name it, even the healthcare. I mean, and you would think that even, and as an African American, I'm shocked that the numbers are still fairly high in the African American community.
82% still support Obama to this day, 41% nationally by comparison.
Exactly. But then, like they say, when you got a poorly educated populace, this is what you get.
Well, you're right, and it's what many have described as the low information voter. They look at the 8-second soundbite on network television, and they make their decisions based on that. When Cheryl Atkinson, the former CBS reporter, has written this new book, Stonewalled, I really encourage you to get it, went on the Laura Ingraham radio show and mentioned that Obama administration officials called her up to literally scream at her while she was working the story. One angry CBS executive called to tell Atkinson that Ingraham is extremely, extremely far right and that Atkinson should not appear on her show anymore. She was puzzled, noting that CBS reporters are not barred from appearing on the very left-wing MSNBC shows, but you see, that dovetails with their agenda. And when Scott Pelley took over from 60 Minutes, the CBS Evening News, complete loss of interest, apparently, in investigative stories, which is sad because CBS certainly had quite a history of investigative reporting, 60 Minutes perhaps most notably. And then she was doing a simple school lunch fraud story for CBS this morning, and yet no reference to Michelle Obama, although she's highly associated with the school lunch program. And because CBS This Morning host Gayle King is a close personal friend of Michelle Obama, all of a sudden they weren't interested in the Cheryl Atkinson piece anymore. It's all politics from start to finish. I'm Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson. We welcome your calls here on The Point of View at 1-800-351-1212, 1-800-351-1212. Mitch standing by at KNEO in Missouri. Good afternoon. You're on.
Yes, sir. I just had a comment that the fact that the media is failing to cover all the fact that the Democrats are in the world of hurt is going to help the Republicans win back the Senate, because they'll be too comfortable to go out and vote because they just think everything's going great.
That is an excellent point. There are people right now listening to the sound of my voice who have not yet voted, who could vote during early voting or certainly could cast their ballot come Tuesday, November 4th, and you may not know all the details of every race. Do the best you can to research them, go on their websites, look at Christian nonpartisan guides that you trust, ask some friends who are more perhaps in the know politically than you are, but cast a ballot. Don't complain about the state of affairs in this country if you don't exercise your right to cast a ballot. All right, let's go to Nathan up next from Arizona, KNLB. We've got about 20 seconds.
You sound like a very well-spoken person, intelligent.
Thank you.
You have a talk show that you say it's Christian, but you're 90% political and 10% Christian. If Jesus had a talk show, would he be 90% Christian and 10% political, or 0% political? Because you can't serve two masters, he said. And when you're talking politics, and you're not talking about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, anybody that votes for abortion or anything that's against Christ, against the commandments of God, they're anti-Christ by definition. So you can't vote for either or if they have any political aspirations to do anything against the Ten Commandments.
And we need to remember, Jesus said in Proverbs that he hates the shedding of innocent blood. Proverbs 6. I'm Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson on Point of View.
A partner is someone who joins others to accomplish a task. In business, it usually means you share the risk and the profits. In ministry, it often means the same thing. Now, what do you risk when you partner with Point of View? After more than 40 years on the air, you pretty much know what you're going to get. Our president, Warren Kelly, has been with us for more than 25 years. Kirby Anderson, more than 30. That's a level of faithfulness and consistency that you don't find too many places. But what about shared profits? Well, in Matthew 10, Jesus says, giving a cup of cold water brings reward. And as a Point of View partner, you share in every life touched, every life equipped. Give generously. Now, it could be $1 a day, $30 a month, or $65 a month, which pays for 1 minute of our on-air ministry. Invest in the partnership with eternal value. Give by phone, 1-800-227-1444. Online, click the partner button at pointofview.net or drop a gift by mail. Point of View Box 30, Dallas, Texas 75221. $30 a month or $65. Start today. Point of View will continue after this.
You are listening to Point of View. The opinions expressed on Point of View do not necessarily reflect the views of the management or staff of this station. And now, here again, your guest host for Point of View.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson Monday through Wednesday. In fact, we'll talk to Max Lucado in studio at 1 o'clock Central Time on Wednesday about his new book, Before Amen, about prayer, describing himself as a former prayer wimp. Looking forward to reading that book tomorrow night. There is a controversy about senior portraits in Nebraska on whether or not a senior in high school should be allowed to have a senior portrait taken incorporating their rifle or even a trophy in the shot. Jillian Dixon of Grand Island, Nebraska, grew up in a hunting family, wanted to incorporate her rifle and some antlers from her favorite hunt into her senior picture. She thought, well, you know, some kids pose with footballs or their tennis rackets or musical instruments. So they voted on it. The school board voted on it 6-0, allowing such photos. And their guideline is that it has to be tasteful and appropriate. They do not want a photograph of game shot by the student if the animal is in obvious distress. The board believed that they wanted to give students who are involved in those kinds of things the opportunity to take a senior picture with their hobby, with their sport, just like anybody with any other hobby or sport. What do you think? Do you think a senior in high school should be allowed to have a rifle, a gun that they use for perhaps target shooting or skeet or hunting? Do you have a problem with that? I'd love to hear from you on that topic at 1-800-351-1212. That's 1-800-351-1212. Toys R Us, as a result of a Florida mother who put together a petition drive, will no longer be stocking the Breaking Bad themed dolls. This is a TV show that was on AMC, and it featured a man who was diagnosed with cancer. Bryan Cranston is the actor, starred as the meth kingpin Walter White, and ultimately he started dealing meth. For 5 seasons, it was an Emmy-winning drama. And his sidekick was Aaron Paul, who portrayed Jesse Pinkman, who was one of his former students in his chemistry class. So this line of dolls, Breaking Bad dolls, that had been sold at Toys R Us, featured a detachable sack of cash and a bag of meth. The Florida mother rightly said, listen, I don't think this is appropriate to have for kids. So she started an online petition. 9,000 people signed it. She said that this toy line is a dangerous deviation from Toys R Us's family-friendly values. And not surprisingly, Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, the 2 stars, objected by way of Twitter. Bryan Cranston said that this was a bad move. Aaron Paul, here's the direct quote. He said, wait, so Toys R Us pulled all of the Breaking Bad figures from their shelves and still sells Barbie? I wonder which is more damaging. Perhaps his tongue is firmly planted in his cheek. And he also tweeted, and what about all the violent video games you sell, Toys R Us? Do you still sell those? The Florida mom really messed it up for everyone. And now these 2 stars have gathered a counter petition. They've already had 10,000 people sign that. Not surprisingly, they could do that very quickly in light of how many Twitter followers they have, et cetera, and Facebook fans who enjoy Breaking Bad. But I agree with the Florida mother. This is totally inappropriate, especially the detachable stash of methamphetamine, which, I mean, have you seen the before and after shots of people who get messed up with meth? I mean, in the first picture, their skin is clear, their eyes are bright, their hair is, shiny because they're treating their body right. And then however many months or even a year or 2 later, they've got acne, their hair looks like straw, their eyes are sunken in the sockets, the whites are no longer white, there's kind of a bloodshot hue to them. Methamphetamine and drugs, an addiction to them, have messed up many. And why would we want to put that as the role model in our toy store? Give me a call with your thoughts on whether you think it's appropriate to have guns in senior pictures, and do you agree with Toys R Us's decision to pull the Breaking Bad themed doll line? 1-800-351-1212. 1-800-351-1212. Let's go next to Rachel in California, listening to KYCC. Hi, Rachel. You're on Point of View with Adam McManus.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I want to comment on the portrait with a firearm.
Yes.
Number one, most conservative people believe in our Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. We should not have that taken away. I am a firm believer in gun advocacy. My main thing is we need to be educating our children on how to properly handle firearms, hunt with firearms, and everything else. Some people have to use it for a source of food. So I feel it's very, very important for us to be educating our young people on that. Number two, and like I said, that's part of our Second Amendment right. And if we begin to give up those rights and say, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this, that is just another stance that the liberals can use to be taking away our rights, and we are giving them up.
And I would add to that, not to disagree with you, but I would add that the full import of the Second Amendment really wasn't about hunting, let's be honest, although I celebrate hunting as you do. The full import of the Second Amendment was to defend yourself against a possibly corrupt government and to defend your person and your property. And I think those are the key two reasons we have the Second Amendment. Thank you for your call, Rachel. We move on to Natalie from South Carolina. Hi, Natalie. You're on with Adam McManus.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I agree with a lot of what the previous caller said. I've lived out in Colorado for a while, which is pretty close to there, and I know that there's quite a robust hunting community out there. And I think, personally, just from the topic coming up, I think that it's okay to have weapons in your photos, again, agreeing that it's within taste and that...
And interestingly, the one rule they did have, in addition to if you have your, deer or what have you in the shot, it can't be looking like it's in agony. It has to actually be dead. But you cannot point the gun at the camera. So it's just to kind of hold it pointing off to the side or up, but not at the camera. It can't be a menacing shot, as it were. All right.
There's no threateningness.
Thank you, Natalie, for your call. Phone number here, if you'd like to join us, 1-800-351-1212. In Nebraska, the 6 school board members, when they voted, said shooting is a part of the town culture here, and there are a number of local kids who even shoot competitively. Interestingly, in terms of senior portraits, there's a whole other issue about modesty. Some of these push the envelope. And some schools enforce rules such as their dress code, saying whatever goes for the dress code for how you have to dress for the day, that applies to the senior picture that would be published in the school's annual. All right, let's go to Carol from Kentucky. You're up next on The Point of View with Adam McManus. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
You're on the air.
Well, I was just calling to say that I don't think they should have guns in portraits. Not because it's guns, but it's a senior portrait. It's not of what they own or their car or their pet or their purse. It's more or less for just the senior person themselves.
Well, but it's to celebrate who they are, how they're uniquely different, what their personality is. I mean, if they love tennis and they have a tennis racket, or they like taking pictures and they've got their camera around their neck, or they're a football, fan. They've got a football nestled in their arms. What's wrong with that? Same standard should be for those who enjoy hunting for sport or target shooting.
Well, that is true, I guess. But now, to me, it should be just of the senior. It shouldn't be their personality as much. It should just be a senior portrait.
All right. Well, the beauty of this program is you have the right to your point of view, because that's the name of the show, ain't it?
That's true.
Thank you, Carol, for checking in from Kentucky. Great to hear from you. When we come back, we're going to share with you the audio clip from Hillary Clinton unbelievably saying, businesses do not create jobs. Plus, I've got the story about parents objecting to Islam being taught in schools, and it ain't in Texas. It is New England. You might be surprised where it's happened. Give me a call with your feedback at 1-800-351-1212. That's 1-800-351-1212. You can also reach me by way of email, talkradioadam@gmail.com. talkradioadam@gmail.com. I'm here in for Kirby Anderson through Wednesday. Max Lucado joins me in studio on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central about his new book, Before Amen.
Now, back to Point of View, your listener-supported source for truth.
Adam McManus in for Kirby Anderson. One final segment. We'll go to your phone calls about the Toys R Us story, pulling Breaking Bad-themed dolls, as well as whether it's appropriate to have guns and the trophy from your hunt in a senior portrait, as they do in Nebraska. They voted on that recently, a 6-0 vote in favor of it. But first, an audio clip from a television news story in Revere, Massachusetts, where some parents were upset when they learned their students were being taught about Islam and the Muslim religion. Cut one.
A classroom controversy in Revere. Students are being taught about different religions around the world, specifically Islam and the Muslim religion, and that has some parents pretty angry. A section of the textbook describing the beliefs of Muslims says, quote, "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah." One father immediately pulled his son out of the classroom.
No religion should be taught in school. In their paper, it says Allah is the only God. I mean, that's insulting to me as a Christian. We don't believe in Allah. I don't believe in my son, learning about this here.
The superintendent of Revere Public Schools wrote the parents a letter explaining that it is simply part of the history in that section of the curriculum.
I believe that students should learn about all the world religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and the smaller religions, to understand what they're all about. Now, if they are teaching them for conversion purposes or devotional purposes, that's something very different. I think sometimes Christians can be a little too sensitive. It is important to know what Islam is all about, or Judaism, or even the difference in denominations, perhaps. There is a long, rich history of man's search for God, and obviously you and I believe that the only way to an eternal address in heaven is by placing your faith in the atoning work of Jesus Christ on the cross. But that shouldn't prohibit even a public school from historically addressing the fact that there is this world religion that has a lot of adherents called Islam, especially in light of the terrorism and the ISIS and the Al-Qaeda and the post 9/11 world in which we live. I think it's important to know our enemy. And finally, Big Three Sunday shows ignored Hillary, claiming businesses do not create jobs. I hope this comes back to bite her when she runs for president. Audio clip number 3.
Don't let anybody tell you that, corporations and businesses that create jobs. That old theory, trickle-down economics. That has been tried. That has failed.
What?
It has failed
What's she talking
rather
about?
Spectacularly. One of the things my husband says when people say, well, what did you bring to Washington? He said, well, I brought arithmetic.
They're just eating out of the palm of her hand. I have no idea why. If it's not corporations and businesses that create jobs, who is it? I mean, whether it's someone starting up a rug cleaning business or someone who's got, much loftier goals, economically speaking, and can employ many more people than the 2 or 3 that the rug cleaner entrepreneur does at the start. I mean, this is how much of a disconnect there is in the Democratic worldview. They don't get it. And they're all laughing. They're like she's speaking the truth. She's speaking a bunch of pablum. That's what she is. All right, let's go right to the talk lines. And up next, Patty from Georgia. Hi, Patty. You're on The Point of View with Adam McManus.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to point out about the Breaking Bad segment.
Yes.
I am an ex-drug addict with 12 years sobriety. And if for the stars to be upset about this is just ludicrous and completely irresponsible. We're supposed to be getting our kids off drugs, not condoning them and glorifying them. This is why we have so many kids on drugs nowadays.
What was your drug of choice?
Mine was meth.
It was?
It was.
Wow.
And
did you watch the Breaking Bad series? Are you familiar with it?
I'm familiar with it. No, I've never watched it. I think that it is insane that it is even on television.
Did you come clean through the power of Jesus Christ? What's your story in 20 seconds?
You bet I did. Yes, I did. Jesus saved me and my husband as well. We owe all the glory to him. We really do.
Fantastic. Patty, thank you for your call. Up next, Guy from South Carolina. Your thoughts about the Toys R Us decision to pull the Breaking Bad themed dolls when the mother gathered 9,000 petitions objecting. Hi, Guy.
Hey, hello, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just kind of wanted to comment on both of them.
And the photos, the senior photos, yes.
I agree with the photo. People need to remember guns don't kill people. People kill people. And
that would make a good bumper sticker.
Yeah, there's been a lot of football players die playing football. Here in the last few years of the younger group, and so if you can, what are you going to do?
And what about the Breaking Bad themed dolls?
Yeah, that's just like the previous caller, and I praise God for her salvation and her husband. But
yeah, I do too. We need to move on to Kay. Kay, you're up next on The Point of View with Adam McManus.
Hi there.
Hi.
I agree with the callers about the guns in the photos. I was born and raised around guns. My daddy was a gunsmith, and if you are taught the right way and you use it in the right way, there's no reason why it should not be able to be in a photo.
What is your favorite kind of a hunt? What do you like to hunt?
I'm a deer hunter.
How many deers have you taken down in your time?
Honestly, I've taken down about 4 or 5. I mean, I'm an occasional deer hunter. My husband
is there some meat as we speak in the freezer, deep freezing?
You better believe there is.
Good for you, Kay. All right, we go to Tom from Texas. You're on The Point of View with Adam McManus. Hi.
Hey, Adam, thank you for having me on.
Sure.
I want to make a point that when I was in high school in South Arkansas, me and all the other boys in my group, we would carry our guns to school with us and leave them in the car or take them to the
Now, what year was this?
It was the mid-'60s.
Okay.
Early 60s, 62, 63, 64.
And so if you had it to do again, would you like to have your gun and your senior portrait?
Well, I never was in love with the gun. The gun is an inanimate object. It has no will or fortitude of its own. And I'd rather all this attention be paid to raising the moral level through the church work on kids so they not go back and it never entered our mind, never entered the thought of shooting a human being with the guns we had around.
Well, good for you, Tom. We need to sneak in Blair from KAVX. Hi, you're on The Point of View. About 20 seconds.
Hey, I just want to say, I kind of support it, and it's all about these people these days. You got ISIS, you got Al Qaeda. They're always posing themselves with their weapons. You got,
so you're in favor of the guns and the portraits?
I think it really comes down to it has to be controlled with taste. It's all about, Yeah,
as long as you don't point the gun at the camera, for example. Well, we are flat out of time. It has flown by. I'm Adam McManus filling in for Kirby Anderson today through Wednesday. Don't forget Max Lucado, my guest, about his new book, Before Amen, on the first hour of Wednesday's broadcast. Learn more about me at my website, AdamMcManus.net, McManus.net. Shoot me an email, talkradioadam@gmail.com. See you tomorrow.
At dinner recently, I was struck by the couple in front of me. They were allegedly spending a night out together, but the only time they communicated in a half hour was one time when the man showed what was on his phone to the woman, and then back to their own screens. We live in a digital generation. Point of View is reaching this often overly plugged-in generation with truth. You'll find us online with your phone, your tablet, your laptop. Search for the Point of View Radio Talk Show on Facebook, where you can keep up with today's issues. You can also follow our new YouTube video series, Uncensored. Stay informed. Follow us on Twitter at Point of View RTS. That stands for Point of View Radio Talk Show. Again, at Point of View RTS. We'd love you to retweet us, to share our Facebook posts, but please don't do it when you're out with your family or someone you love. We can wait. We're online 24 hours a day. Learn, interact, share. The Point of View Radio Talk Show. Point of View is produced by Point of View Ministries.